Selu, spring is upon us. Spring is a time where it's a season, a time when the greens will be green, and it informs people's decisions, choices, and events. And the outputs. If they give corresponding actions that correspond for positivity, they're gonna get positivity and all of that. It's the same thing with human life. Life comes in circles, just like the seasons. Right now, I'm happy that my plants will begin to blossom significantly so because the rains will come. And so with the circle of life, I want to look at the 9 year life circle and I want to zero in on the 0 to 9 stage of the 9 year life cycle because it covers an area that I'm very passionate about. 0 to 9. The 9 year life cycle covers 0 to 9 in multiplicity of nines. 0 to 9, 9 to 18, 18 to 17, sorry, 18 to 27, 27, you just keep adding up the nine. Each of these stages are very, very significant and would define the outcome of a human being. Now, I'm interested in 0 to 9 because it is the stage where parents and people who have children should really pay attention to. It is a stage where a lot can happen. It is the defining moment. There's a saying that goes thus: show me a child between 0 to 7, and I can tell you the man or the woman that child will become. Now, the stage 0 to 9, which is the first stage, is the formative stage of anybody's life. It is where the foundation is, very valid foundation. It is the formative stage where a lot can happen, where a person can be formatted to become that which the person ought to become behaviorally. It is where you can shape, it is where you can download, it is where you can imprint upon the life of a person, the early stage of the person's life. We've learned this before. Science have proven that hypnosis is at 0 to 7. Even when you want to do adoption, the early stages are actually the best part where it becomes, it becomes like it's almost as good as biological, where the hassles will be very reduced. Now, what happens through this stage is that you can teach the child a lot. You want to teach a child how to swim. You want to teach the child a second language. You want to teach a child a skill they ever heard of, catch them young. It starts from that stage. They've come with their own baggage, but they are not, they are in the subconscious era. They are in the hypnosis era. They are not creatively conscious at the time. And so what happens significantly is the fact that you as a parent, you as a teacher, you as a caregiver, you have the right, you have the time. This is your time to shape that child. It is not a time to get carried away and say, this is my child, the child is too young. This is a time for work. You've got to put in the work. Okay? This is the time when the child learns language, para language, conduct. This is a time where the child's confidence, self-esteem, and everything happens. Because by the second stage in the 9 year circle of life, where the child is between ages 9 to 18, you have sent some of you GSS1, GSS2, the early part of the second stage. These children are in secondary schools. Some of them are in boarding house. When they leave, when they haven't gotten enough, when you have not downloaded enough into them in their formative years, you know what happens? They go outside where they're seeking validation and they adopt and they absorb the things that they see outside. For example, a child who comes from a background where the child doesn't see love, all the child sees is toxicity, animosity, fights, all kinds of things, gutter language, hurtful language, abuse. What happens is that when the child goes to secondary school, the child sees somebody who says to them, I love you, I appreciate you, I celebrate you. The child gets sucker from there. You begin to wonder why peer influence and peer pressure is very easy because audit the formative years. Audit the formative years. Now, let me tell you something. The DNA and the genetic code of a human being is programmable. It is time for you to program 0 to 9 years old. Go and work on the DNA. That is when you can instill patterns. Teach your children their ancestry, their mother tongue, their language. It is the formative year. It is not the time to say this child is too small, this child is too this. No, 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 no. They are listening to you. It is a time to awaken that child spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, and otherwise. And so that by the time they're in the second stage of the 9 year life cycle, they are prepared and they are equipped. Show me a child age 0 to 9, and I can tell you what that child would turn out to be. It makes the job easier for you as a caregiver or as a parent. Reasonably easier for you. Do not take for granted the formative years. That is the stage where there are a lot of definitions. And so that's why I advise older people, in case you're having too many problems. Look, parenting is consciousness. It's a conscious activity. It's not so there's not That's why I don't agree with the concept of unwanted pregnancy. Please, you should be ready. Don't traumatize a child and let the child carry that baggage. Don't abuse a child because of your frustrations and your lack of preparedness. Every child deserves a champion. So my point is this: when once you have children, they will not do what you say they should do. They will do what they see you doing. They will mirror you, your actions, your inactions, become a slate for them to write on. And so you need to take this into consideration as you work to be the better version of yourself, not because you think you know why you have to do it. The only reason that I want to give you is because that you have children in your space who are looking up to you as their champion. Do not take for granted the formative years of raising children. Do not take for granted the formative years of rearing children, ages 0 to 9. Very key, very fundamental, because when you lose them, and the eye rolling and door banging stage between ages 9 to 18, when they are beginning to develop, they are beginning to find themselves out, they are beginning to be conscious, they are beginning to be, they are seeking validation, they are fitting into society. At that time, your pattern won't be, it will be the safe haven. And so I wish you well, I wish you luck. I need you to take a look at these things and do yourself a self audit and appraisal. And I don't belong to those people who believe that you do not have control of what a child will become in future. No, I believe that you can raise your children into responsible adults. 0 to 9, teach your children values, family values. Teach them love for their siblings. Teach themselves to love and uphold themselves. Give them standards, visions, mission statements, things to uphold. Let them have their mantras. This is life. This is not a walk in the park. Mommy will not always be there. Daddy will not always be there. But what will always be there are the things that you've taught your children, particularly during the formative years of their life. Let us get to work and do the proper formatting. Let us program their DNA and their genetic codes. It is possible. I love your children just as I love my children, because my children will not function in isolation. They need to perform in the same level playing ground as yours. Tell your children you love them, build their self esteem so that they will not go outside the second stage of the formative of the second stage of their life, seeking validation from outside, looking for succor outside, and then we regret it all. I love you all, and do have yourself a wonderful holiday. Bye.